Happy Friday. We have made it through another week, and you're a little closer to Christmas, a little closer to 2021, and we'll finally be finished with 2020. So maybe 2021 will be a little easier on us, a little happier, and a little less COVID filled. So they're announcing that the pandemic now has a vaccine, and they're starting to roll it out in Britain and anticipating it getting here in the next few weeks. So we pray that maybe COVID will be behind us in the next couple of weeks. I hope you're hanging in there and being positive. Just remember, this won't be like it won't be like this forever. It feels like that sometimes, but it won't be. So don't give up and don't do anything now that's going to compromise the future. We know how people pay attention to conversations. We know what it means to preach a good sermon. We have done enough research on how words work. And the usual thing is, if you walk out, you have to do something, tell some kind of story, make some kind of comment that bonds you to the congregation, that brings you and the congregation into some kind of momentary community for the giving of the sermon, that the sermon is heard in the context of the church community. So when John starts preaching and begins his sermon, "You brood of vipers," he violates every good teaching about good preaching. Who in the world starts a conversation, starts a sermon by walking out, looking at the church and going, "You bunch of snakes"? Now, I do have to confess that it has crossed my mind. Of course, not at this church, you know that. You know how much I love you. But it has crossed my mind from time to time, but you don't do it. That's not the way you do a sermon. So why in the world would John do that? You know, while people do not like being called names or being put down in any way, they do respect somebody that tells them the truth. And this is what John the Baptist was all about. Here's the truth. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, but you do have to hear it. Here is the truth. And all of us are a bunch of snakes, a bunch of vipers. We are conniving. We are slick. We are two-faced. We are always trying to scheme some shortcut to do what would take a long time to do. We're always cheating. We're always lying. That's us. And for someone to walk up and say, "Listen, man, this is who you are. This is what you're doing." Now, you may not like it, but you do have to respect the person who had enough courage to tell you the truth. You know what bothers me is that you will be walking through some kind of public building and a total stranger will walk up to you and go, "Hey, friend, you got some spinach in your teeth." Now, you ate lunch with some friends, you've been meeting with friends, and not one of your friends told you you had spinach in your teeth. Some total stranger walked up and go, "Hey, friend, you got spinach in your teeth." Looks like your friends will help you out, but they don't. They know who you are. They put up with all of your weird habits and idiosyncrasies and that kind of stuff. But John said, "Listen, this is where you start. This is where you begin. You begin with the truth, and the truth is bad about who we are." Now, I know that we want to think happy thoughts during Christmas, but the truth is the Christmas story begins with bad news. And the bad news is we're in a mess. We're in such a mess that God had to come himself. He couldn't send anybody else. He had to come and rescue us. The good news is that Jesus is born. The bad news is we were so messed up there wasn't any other choice. So John's sermon, "You're a brood of snakes," well, we resemble that more than we would want to. The good news always starts with bad news, and the bad news is we're in a mess. The good news is that Jesus has come. So hear the truth of Christmas. We were so messed up, Jesus had to come himself. Hear the good news of Christmas. He did indeed come. I'll give you about 60 seconds to start mulling that one over, and I'll see you Monday.